Hi everyone, this is Kat Kelly. I am presenting for our final project here. I will walk you through kind of the context that I have for my final project and then actually walk you through the deliverable that I have. So just a little background and just one quick note too. If I yawn, please excuse me. I tend to forget to breathe when I present. So I will do my best to talk slowly and remember to breathe, and if you see me yawn, um, please excuse me. So, I happen to be in a really interesting situation this semester. It's my last semester in the master's degree program for technical writing. And for my capstone project for the completion of my degree, I researched a tool that is currently in use by technical writers that we're not teaching currently at the university. And I found out about this when I started my first technical writing job. I came into the field and was asked if I had knowledge of DITA, this tool, and I didn't. And it was shocking because every place I started to apply was requiring education and knowledge of this tool. So when I started my master's degree and I went back and I started talking to professors, I inquired as to why this wasn't being taught. And it just was something that they hadn't really heard of a ton from managers who were hiring new technical writers. So I tried to kind of get this running, and they've actually started to, just this semester, they started to incorporate this tool into their learning, which is great. So now we have technical writers who are taking courses in this newly required tool for them, and they're graduating with this knowledge, which is phenomenal. I actually helped to curate some assignments for a course for the program that I'm in right now. So it feels great to actually know that I'm doing some good. So here's the poster for my research that I did, just basically showing that this is something that we do need. We've got managers who are expecting technical writers to come into the field with this knowledge, and so I'm just going to scroll through this. You can take more time. I linked to it. Basically, the findings that I found is that it's a tool that's going to be around for 5 to 10 years. That was something that the professors wanted me to be able to prove, so that they weren't implementing content into their teaching that was just going to be outdated soon. So I was able to say that, it's going to be around for more than 5 years. It's something we should be teaching not only adult learning professionals like myself, but also new students and undergraduate students, so that when they come into the real world of careers and such, they've got that understanding and education. So moving on from having been able to justify my learning and kind of the why we should have this, one of the things that this class really inspired me was with the blended learning. That's something that even though this is a tool that requires using computers, it's not something, excuse me, it's not something that we're actually doing, and it's going to be really useful to try and incorporate the blended learning in this type of course, specifically because it will make not only learning for undergraduate students but also adult learners that I'm starting to teach, it's going to make it a lot easier and a lot more accessible. So the idea that I have decided to run with for this final project is a hub. One of the things that's really lacking in the world of this tool, DITA, because it's fairly new, is a hub and a learning place for people to go to for any kind of course. Specifically, this would be more for professional adult learners who are already technical writers. They're already in the field. They're not necessarily in the a school, college, excuse me, a school college program like myself, but if they were taking learning or courses outside of the college, it would be something that would be really useful for the trainers and the teachers and the professors who are teaching this stuff to utilize. So let's hop over there real quick. I've got a web page that I've kind of created as my own hub. And when I say hub, I want you to think of Moodle. So the university has Moodle as their way of sharing information and getting information from the professor to the students in online resources. But this is not something that a lot of professional or other corporate companies are using when they're teaching people about this tool. And the people who are teaching this tool are oftentimes the people who help implement the system. They're the people selling the software. So I'm taking a lot of really good and some rough courses based on training and education from these courses, and this is something I think that all of them or anyone could implement to better help their adult educational learners. So this is the hub that I'm proposing kind of for DITA, or if I were to be in the situation here, which it looks like I'm going to be, where I'm going to be teaching other adult learners who are already professionals on how to use this tool. So I'm going to walk you through this a little bit and kind of explain the different ideas that I'm pulling from our coursework and why I've set it up this way. So here's your front page. Well, the reason I really like using WordPress is because it's a lot more user-friendly. People are very familiar with WordPress blogs and such. Instead of trying to push something like Moodle on them, we understand Moodle and how it works very easily because we've been using it for an entire undergraduate, graduate careers. And so, excuse me. So I've chosen to mock it after a website to try and make it a little more of a better fit for my audience, my adult learners. So when you get to the front page of this hub, some things that you'll see is you'll see new posts. So for instance, the biggest post that I have here, the first one, just shows that course week 5 content's available. So they'll know from seeing that they can go and they can find new content that's been uploaded. So say the webinar was last week, this would go up right after that to be able to just, hey, reminder, this stuff's available here. The next post, or just quick piece that I have up here, is outside of the course. It's actually a piece written up by DITA Writers. It's his 5 highlights from DITA TC World 2016 conference, and I think it would be a great way to show students and learners that there's other resources out there. You know, it's not just about what I can teach you here in this course, it's about what else is out there. You know, get out, branch out, find out what you need to solve your problems specific to your situation. A couple other very consistent pieces for the hub would be, you know, a list of pages, your social media in case you wanted to engage with your students there or help them, you know, if you had a LinkedIn group where they could speak to each other, that would be a great place to put this kind of information. And then much like Daryl, I really loved the way he had the specific hashtag for the course. You could have a hashtag for the course that, you know, that you're in, or use a DITA hashtag. Just a way for people to utilize some of that social media outside of the course to connect and further understand, you know, what they're doing. So since I utilized a more of a WordPress kind of general blog website type feel, I did feel it was necessary to include an About DITA page. So let's go over there, just in case someone stumbled upon this and they were like, hey, what's this? I don't know anything about it. It gives everyone just a brief overview of what DITA is as a tool, the features that it has, so benefits, anything like that for a new user. Oh, excuse me. Another consistent piece that you'll find over here on the sidebar is a search bar. So one thing that would be really nice is sometimes when I'm in a course and I'm not sure what I'm looking for, or especially that's very useful when you have new electronic textbooks, is you have that search function. So I'm able to search, you know, if I'm looking for a specific tool or something that Daryl may have mentioned in his welcome video and I'm not sure what he's saying specifically, or I forgot a lesson, I can search for it. So that's kind of the idea behind having a search function here. And then you can also see some of the recent posts. I just think it's another good reminder for people. So moving on to more of the functionality of this hub, one of the things that I think is really great for engaging your students online and having them try and interact with each other is the discussion boards that we've really done. And unfortunately, by utilizing WordPress.com in the free version, it's not something that I can set up here to be able to show you. However, if this were more of a real world situation, I would definitely be using a tool like WordPress.org, which is a paid-for service where you can have these kind of discussion boards that are moderated. I've included a list of the different discussion boards that would be really useful to have, like your general discussions, your facts and questions, your new to data, your troubleshooting. Say a learner wasn't sure, or they had a problem that wasn't specific to a course they were taking or a lesson. They could go to the troubleshooting discussion board and know that they could search there to see if someone else had the same issue, or they could post and see if other students or people who were coming to this hub might be able to help and assist. So in the meantime, I have actually linked to several existing discussion boards. So for instance, I'll click on this Data XML one. It brings users to a discussion board where you see a lot of the same thing, not in a learning situation though, but this could be another place where students coming to this hub could look for answers. So that would be your discussion board. Great way to engage students, help them connect with each other. I think it's really important to empower people to solve their own issues rather than just tell them, here's right and wrong. So moving on, we've got lessons and webinars. And one of the things I really wanted to do here is I wanted to move away from the text-orientated content for students. It seems to be something that we're still really relying on heavily with, there's all sorts of data tool, best practice documents, and long wordy articles that just are not as necessary. Whereas if you come to this page on this hub, what I've done is I've linked to a whole bunch of great, and some of them I've even used myself, for just great information that's in a quick, and I specifically, these ones are quick, but just a quick and easy YouTube video here. So you can come in here and you can, look for content that you might otherwise not know about, or just get a refresher on something, and it's recorded. So one of the big things that I'd like to move away from and towards with the blended learning is the use of email as a way to share information, because these hubs don't exist currently for learning environments and courses that are being held by these corporations for adult professional learners. Is stuff gets lost in your email. I don't know about you, but I get 50 to 100 emails a day between internal office affairs and external companies advertising and telling me about conferences. So one of the things that a hub would be able to do is it would be able to be a home for this webinar recording instead of having to send it out via email and potentially have students, be unaware or miss it or hit a spam filter. So it's just one of those ways that we can make content more readily available for students instead of, having to get lost. And then it's also reusable. Instead of having to do the same webinar over and over again, you can send a link to one that you already did. Save some time. Moving on, we've got practice assignments. This is more so regarding the actual content of the course. This would be the area where if students wanted to revisit or refresh themselves on how to do something, I've got each of the different course weeks set out, and then below them are links to the different exercises. And so I'll click on one of these. This is a schematron exercise, and I know data isn't something that all of you are going to be familiar with, but essentially what this is it's a list of examples or math problems, say. So it would be like 2 + 2 = and then there's a blank, is essentially what this is, but for Data, the tool. And what this does is it allows a student or a professional learner to say, okay, this is something I need to practice. I'm going to go here and I'm going to take a look at these exercise programs or exercise problems, and if there's something that I am getting stuck on, perhaps that's something that I should go to the discussion board and say, hey, can someone help me with this? Or the answers would also be available, once the course had kind of progressed, or if people wanted to see that. So that is something that I've included here, some practice assignments for people. And lastly, we have resources, which I think is one of the greatest things about hubs, because instead of just being very focused and streamlined on the content at hand, you can give your students access to just about whatever they want. Every Google Doc Daryl sent out for each session was our required learning, and then there was also a whole bunch of stuff that was useful but was optional, so if we had extra time to look into it. And that's what you can see here. You can see your resources, you can see companies that give tools that you can use with